And
Okay, go.
Hello, I am Brian Taylor.
Hi, and I'm Connie Packer.
And the whole goal tonight is to do a few short films. This is the first of many, to get people excited about emergency preparedness, self-reliance, and prominent living. And one thing that I would like to start out by saying is a lot of times with physical and spiritual preparedness, when you're prepared, it dispels a lot of fear. And I'd love to kind of direct you to the LDS website, so www.lds.org. If you go to families and individuals, you'll find self-reliance, and then under employment and welfare, you'll also find provident living. Those are a couple places that you can peruse. I'd love to ask you to go there and kind of look at that and see what's there for you.
It is a great resource. We encourage you to do that.
So the first thing with preparedness is getting in the right mindset. You know, I've talked to people, and I know when people are shot, some people are mortally wounded and somehow they're able to pull through. And then people who are just grazed, they think to themselves, oh, I'm dead, and they end up dying off of just a graze.
You're right.
And so it's that mindset that we're talking about with preparedness.
It is, and it is really mind over matter, because the more you are prepared, the less you will fear, and the more you'll actually be able to help your family and your neighbors and friends.
Just to give you a little idea of some of the topics that we'll be covering over the next year, water, heat and light, 3 months supply of food, long-term food storage, medication, first aid supplies, financial reserves, and then airborne illnesses or pandemic. Those are some topics that we plan to cover in the upcoming filmings. So the first thing that we'd like to get started with is having a family plan. We'd love for you to sit down with your family and actually talk to them and help them work through a plan that you create for yourself.
You bet. And not just talk about it, but actually get it written down.
Yep, written down.
And the more you have it posted throughout your home, the more you educate your family, the more prepared they're going to feel, and the less they will fear if that is throughout your home, written where they can see it on a daily basis.
There's a lot of places on the web you can look to find out what steps you need to take to create a family plan. Just some simple ones is know what's more likely in your area to be a natural disaster. For example, Utah would be an earthquake. Have a family plan with escape routes. You know, if it's an earthquake, how are you going to get out of your bedroom if the door jams because your house shifts? You know, a crowbar and a flashlight might be a good idea.
You're right. Or in the case of a fire, if you have a 2-story home, how are you going to get out that second story without getting hurt? Having an escape ladder on hand in each bedroom would be very viable to the safety of your family.
Yep, have a plan written down. The escape routes. You may have to learn how to crawl. You know, if it's a fire, have your kids practice that. Have them be okay with the plan. You know, after you get it all laid out, talk about it and make sure they're okay with it. Have places outside of your home where you're going to get to. You know, if you have a natural disaster, kids are at school or wherever, they need to know where to go, where you're going to meet up. And we don't know if cell phones will work at that time, and so have a plan if you can't get a hold of each other, what to do.
Exactly. And that also is an idea for your kids to know if they are not at your home with you, if they are out in the public, if they're in their schools, they'll feel more comfortable knowing that when they get to their destination, mom and dad are going to be there.
Yeah. One of those good pieces that you can do is a 72-hour kit. Some people call it a bug-out bag, but you have food and water and different things in your kit. And so, you know, there's a lot of places on YouTube as well that you can Google 72-hour kit or bug-out bag, and they'll give you a lot of ideas. But make a kit for each of your kids and yourselves, and have it to where you can grab it and go in an emergency.
Exactly. And Brian mentioned water, and that will be the next thing that we talk about, is how important it is having the proper amount of water and having a way to sanitize that water.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to do it, you need to learn how to do it.
We've known in natural disasters that more people die and get sick from drinking bad water than they get injured in the actual natural disaster. And so water is a really important thing to have prepared and to know where you're going to get it and how that's going to work for you.
You bet. And you will actually survive longer if all you have is water. you can survive longer on water than you can not having food. Water is what really will sustain you.
So at this point, let's talk about a few different tips in a natural disaster. One thing is if it's an earthquake, your windows may be all broken out of your house, and so how are you going to, and especially if it's winter, how are you going to be in your house and keep the heat in? One quick idea is 6 mil plastic with duct tape, and for $30 you can be prepared to, you can even section off a room in your house if you need to. One thing, if it's in the middle of winter and you have no heat source, you can pitch a tent in your living room, and if your family gets in sleeping bags inside the tent, that adds a layer of catching the heat. And I've known people in the coldest part of the winter be okay in that scenario.
Exactly. And if you're in your home during an earthquake, the best thing to do is always have an extra pair of shoes or pair of slippers next to your bed, because you can't just run out through broken glass, but also it'll help you get outside and get to safety. Also, for my family, we keep a big garbage can full of spare boots and extra shoes outside, because if all we can do is run out, we at least have extra stuff outside that we have access to. Good. Or in our shed.
Good. Another thing is sanitation. We need to make sure, once again, if we have human waste all over, it's gonna get people sick.
It is, and the most important part about sanitation is that you keep that human waste separated. Using either porta potties, buckets with regular portable lids, or using actually your own toilet, draining that water and lining it with a kitchen garbage bag, a heavy plastic kitchen garbage bag, not cheap ones, and keeping the urine separated from the human waste. Duct taping those bags shut, using either Clorox or another kind of sanitizer to keep the smell down. Those things are very important and will sustain you longer by not mixing those two wastes together.
Good. And so just a few quick tips to be okay in a natural disaster. One thing that I want to point out is, during the talk tonight, I'm sure something has come into your mind that's you've thought of that you need to do. I challenge you to write that down, and in the next week, make it happen for you. It's all about action, so I challenge you to do that, and I appreciate the moments that we've had tonight. Thank you.
You bet. And on that note, in closing, we want to learn to be resilient. We want to be the type of people that we can not only help ourselves, but we can help our families. So when we think about resiliency, it's actually the ability to grow and thrive in the face of challenges and bounce back from adversity. So do we want to be like an egg and be broken and cracked during these crises, or do we want to be like a tennis ball where we can actually bounce back? Thank you for your time.